Development, Counselor Andrus.
Here.
Counselor Gwaltney.
Here.
Counselor Wilkerson. Counselor Sims.
Here.
Counselor Nams. Here. So you have one absent, you have a quorum.
All right, thanks everybody. I'll begin with a motion to dispense with the reading and approve the minutes from the June 20th.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion from Counselor Nellum, second from Counselor Gwaltney. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes 4-0. All right, old business 060622, public hearing set for August 8th, 2022 at 6 p.m. to consider amending the city's zoning ordinance to include the fence ordinance. Brought to us from myself and Cale Smith from our engineering department. So I obviously was not here on June 20th. I know there was some discussion about vegetation, and I know Mr. Kendrick has sent out his ordinance. And any discussion, Mr. Smith? Anything you want to add, or?
I don't have anything additional to add. I mean, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay.
We do intend to, Brian, did you get the PDF? Yeah, that. We do intend to add this just for clarity because we're cleaning up some of the definitions. So it's really a change to the rear yard. The rear yard will now look like the brick hatch for both interior lots and corner lots. That's it.
Any questions?
What's that?
Just for description's sake?
Yeah.
You just can't have the 70-foot trees.
Being people flower.
Okay. Any questions? Any further discussion?
I saw a question, just to confirm, this will now go to BZA for approval, is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
because part of the zoning ordinance will go to BZA for approval, so please.
Just wanted to confirm.
No, BZA. The zoning, board of zoning appeals, right? It's part of the zoning appeal process for various requests.
Oh, the process, okay. I thought-
No, it's out of.
It's out of our hands.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what we have it.
I thought you meant like the
No.
ordinance. I was thinking like the Andy process.
Yes.
I didn't think that was right.
No, we've already done all that.
Walker's gonna do a happy dance.
Mr. Wolverton is here, Ms. Salter. We're gonna add that to the minutes. All right, Andrew, do you have any more discussion you wanna have on this item here? Fence, variance request, the fence ordinance?
It's going to.
It's going to BZA. All right,
So,
okay.
Just
Yep.
looping conversations, because
Yep.
I think one of the conversations last meeting that was kind of like an area of focus was the definition of natural fence in the definition, which reads as a vegetative buffer formed by a dense row of shrubs or trees intended to separate two pieces of land, mark the boundary of a lot, provide privacy, security, prevent escape or intrusion. So again, natural fence is included in this current version, and that's where we have had some discussion around. Is there any thoughts about changes to that, or are we leaving it?
We're leaving it at 36 inches, right? 3 feet?
You can have it, it just can't be higher than 3 feet.
Is that?
Just can't be
correct?
higher than
Can't
3 feet.
touch
Hmm?
width-wise, right? Also
I don't know the
can't
answer to
touch.
that. Mr. Kendrick?
I'm gonna let Cale speak
Okay.
on this. This is his ordinance.
Or at least that's what had been.
Is that what the
explained
discussion was on?
before.
Okay.
Is that grandfather? What is
Yes,
your-
that grandfather's in, yeah, absolutely.
It's a vegetative barrier.
Right, so I don't, this is not a hill I want to die on, but I
Okay.
just know that there have been questions about interpreting what qualifies a barrier, and I thought the discussion was that if things are, if shrubs are touching side to side, basically, that would qualify as a barrier. And therefore, that's,
I think that's right.
that you keep them cleaned up and separated, it would not.
I think that's right.
Okay.
So, Val,
But you don't have that delineated per se in this.
As far as touching or not touching
Mhm.
vegetation?
Yes.
That's correct.
Are you asking to have that added?
definition of barrier be sufficient since a barrier prevents
Oh, no.
passing? Because
I don't think it would be.
if there's a gap between
Yeah.
two things, then there's not a barrier there, you can still pass through.
I don't think it would be. I
So
think
here-
somebody would.
I mean, just to be clear,
Yeah, take it.
it was our direction from several city councilors, and the planning commission to include vegetative fencing. So we made it as good as we could have, and also based it on similar ordinances around us.
Just keep it in the
So
3
that's
feet.
where we are. If we need to change or add or take it out or whatever, whatever. I'm like Andrew, nobody's going to dollar short over this thing.
I just wanna make sure that you guys don't, that you have the tools you need to enforce.
Yeah, somebody's gonna try to, I mean,
Right, so hopefully, I mean, we review, in most, major renovations or new building sites, there's a landscape plan that's
Mhm.
included. And so we would hope to catch what constitutes as a front yard fence. If somebody wants to put in some boxwoods, then that's probably not a front yard fence, right? Because those are gonna take a really long time to get over 36 inches. But if they wanna do what, the house on the corner of Oxmoor and, just when you get past the exception foundation. So there's a front yard fence along that side street, that would be a front yard fence according to this. Which,
So, someone, how many shrubs in line constitute a barrier?
well, it depends on the,
As long as they don't touch.
right, I think that's the point, right? What can fit on a lot without touching, I guess, but then when it grows, is it gonna touch? I mean,
Right.
you know,
That's why.
And you gotta have a permit to install a fence, and you have to have a permit to install a vegetative fence when it's under 3 foot, because it's not.
mm-hmm. And then does that touch, right? This doesn't matter, right?
I would say no, they just have to maintain their hedge height at 3 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it's not good stuff.
Right.
So if we're talking about height at 3 feet under the ordinance, then do we want to stipulate it further on from the contiguous aspect that talks about, a contiguous block of shrubbery greater than 5 feet? Should we worry about width, or is height the only thing we need to worry about?
So a fence encloses the space.
Okay.
So even if you have just like a line of, if you have 5 feet of shrubs on one side of the house, I don't think that constitutes as a fence, according to the definition. To provide privacy, security, and prevent escape or intrusion.
But if it was an actual physical fence, and it, like, take the one, for example, we just considered, last week, where it just came out towards the road, and it didn't actually enclose a space, though, that was considered a fence.
Because it left the,
Because it came out
Front,
before the
right,
front.
yeah, from the front of the
box.
So if it was a vegetative fence in that same placement, even though it didn't enclose, then that would be a front yard fence if it was vegetation. Correct? Or-
Yep. Anything that comes out in front of the front corner of the house is considered,
Well, if they I guess it would be if they planted it, if it was over 3 feet tall when they initially planted it, right?
So-
There's an example of kind of what you're.
yeah. So Andrew's saying this is what we want to see, right? This is not touching. Or you're saying it's the height,
I guess so.
right? It's not
It's
touching.
not touching,
But,
so right now, it's probably not a barrier,
but it's tall.
but it's tall.
It's too tall.
I mean,
Right.
you could have planted them individually all through the yard and still.
Yeah, so the way I read this ordinance, that would be a fence, because there's no distinction between, it growing together.
Yeah, it's too tall. Yeah.
But you can walk between these, and you can't walk
You can walk
between
between these.
a wood, solid wood fence.
That's right. So that's what I'm trying to figure out is if that is
When those grow
in our intent of
They're
the
higher than
ordinance, is
3
that,
feet.
do we wanna allow that?
Didn't we have something like that on Hollywood, like,
Yeah.
a year ago?
And that, but
I mean,
that,
those
but
were
that
much
was
taller too,
in,
but-
we think that was in before the front yard fence ordinance.
I
Or-
thought we decided that they applied for.
That was the
a
actual
permit
fence.
and then-
That was the
Oh,
actual
that's right,
fence.
that's right.
The actual fence, which is now, yeah. Well, what's the pleasure of the committee? What do y'all want to, do you want to include the bushes touching each other, or are you good with the 3 feet limit?
I really think it's more important that they.
You put whoever does this enforcing it, going out and measuring shrubbery, just
Mhm.
like we do grass.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's 3 feet, next year it's 3.5 feet, you gotta cut it back.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, cut it back.
And by the way, boxwoods get 5 or 6 feet.
It's like what I sent you that other day.
Yes.
Yeah. Y'all were debating it.
Nobody got time.
Kel, what's your thought?
At least it's green.
I mean, that's totally up to you.
Okay, well, I guess,
What would help with enforcement, I guess?
yeah, what would help with enforcement?
No.
I mean, you see some pictures there.
Yeah.
People spend
They will.
thousands of dollars getting landscape done, it's beautiful.
Yes.
But then when you go some places, like he was talking about, there at the corner of Oxmoor.
Yeah.
We've got big old trees and they're enclosing a little courtyard or something in there. Or, where is it, Oxmoor, Salter and Crest. You got, that thing is jungle.
Yeah.
It's like 10 or 12 foot high.
Yep.
So can we just say, shrubbery installed, maximum 3 feet height, not to touch on not to enclose by touching on either side?
Oh, but good lord. Y'all are like making Scott's life miserable.
I mean, yeah, you're talking about a barrier, and then he's talking about enclosure, like that, the picture there, that's not an enclosure, that's a barrier. So a fence doesn't have to enclose something,
So you're saying that language covers it then, is what you're saying?
As a barrier, it does. Once it grows in.
Which is
Right,
what?
once it grows in.
And it grows in, we tell them, hey, you gotta whack them all down to 3 feet, and, or plant something else, so it grows tall.
Would it be within, I guess, the interest to prohibit them in the frontage of houses or lots, but to make them permissible on the sides of the lot, and then not, as far as vegetative fences, and then not regulate them?
So people like to plant shrubs along the front of their house. Right. Even. Like in a walk. Right, that's right. And even along the sidewalk, the public sidewalk, if they have one. Yeah, and if those are maintained to less than 3 feet.
Yeah, okay.
Could the side, could we say that the side green vegetation could be a little taller? Or, because like in this case where there's a fence that it's up against,
Yeah, the fence is actually the backyard.
Of somebody
The fence
else.
is okay, but the shrubbery.
well, but, and I'm saying.
Because that's on a different
but it's a
person's property, and that's their front yard.
Right. So, I can just see a lot of cases where the side vegetation might be okay a little taller if it's
Maybe
hiding.
a buffer or something they don't want to look at.
Yes, and would we need to set it back off the road a certain amount, kind of like we do a fence, a backyard fence or
I'm sorry, Seth, what?
Well, I know that we have allowed a lot of fences. Do we say that it has to come back a certain amount off haven't we allowed a lot of fences coming off the side and toward the front?
We have sometimes on quarter lots, and so, the old ordinance said that it had to be 15 feet on the secondary, offset 15 feet from the secondary property line.
I was wondering, like, if it's, in this case, like, how far from the front? We don't have any of those we just give variances for that sort of thing.
That's right, because front yard fences aren't allowed.
That's right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah. No, I'm chair.
Oh, you're chair. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Chairman.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
This is really I mean, we have been handling these fences and we still can't come to a consensus as to what is clear. My suggestion is we send this to BZA, let them work out what is gonna be best for them. I mean, let them work with what we have already. And then if we need to make changes,
Yeah.
have them come back to us and say, we need to change this ordinance for enforceability or, whatever. Making these changes now, we're just assuming, well,
So these changes were made at the planning commission.
yeah.
Right.
So,
He's talking about moving forward, what was brought up tonight.
like, moving forward, we don't need to make
Yeah.
additional changes.
Oh.
I guess what I'm saying.
No, you take it as it is, what we have right now.
Take
Mr.
it
Chairman,
as it is, and if there are things that need to be changed,
They
then
can bring it back.
we can look at that later. But
I agree.
they're the ones that are gonna be working through this.
No, he answered it.
Yeah. Okay,
I
so.
did, but he answered it.
Okay, so the proper motion then would be to send it out without recommendation pending the public hearing. Do I have a motion? Motion from Counselor Nelm, second from
This
Counselor
is
Clausen.
amendment to the zoning ordinance.
Yes.
okay? At the public
We do,
hearing.
it's on August 8th. Yeah, that's the motion, is to send out without recommendation pending the public hearing. From Counselor Nelm, second from Counselor Gwaltney. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, and that passes 5-0.
I'm sorry. And so the BZA actually meets the first Thursday in August, which is before
Yeah.
the 8th.
So anything that comes up before
So
that.
we could discuss it at the BZA
Okay.
meeting.
Okay. Before the public hearing?
Publication.
Yeah, we can't change it without
Right,
republishing
Not
it.
substantial.
Right.
I think what we're talking about right now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would not be a substantive, significant change.
Whether that.
Well,
Maybe I don't know.
yeah, maybe I'm not understanding what we're talking about then, because I
So
was.
he's talking about the bushes in the
Right.
front touching each other.
Whether the half bushes is 3 or 5 feet.
No, we're keeping them at 3 feet, but whether they touch
Whether
each
they
other.
touch.
To create a barrier.
An enclosure?
Correct, not very, very clear.
Yeah, barrier would be anything. But an enclosure, I would. You're gonna do this
That's-
more
that's
than
what
I
I'm
am, I'm
saying,
just, but to me, enclosure is a different thing than a barrier.
Well, I agree that we need to let them live with us for a little while and see how this goes. I know, okay, all right, okay. you two
Walter
over
and I
here.
are gonna
Okay.
tackle all of y'all,
All
just so
right,
you know.
I'm moving on. President Wyatt, I was going to bring up 020121 off the table, or have someone bring off the table to drop it, since we were moving forward.
That's, if you're just gonna drop it.
If you would rather wait.
No, if you're just gonna drop it, that's fine.
Oh, Councilor Botany, are you okay with that? Because.
But formality has to go back and work
Do you
on
want me
the
to wait
agenda,
to do
so
that?
if,
The
so if
next
it's not just dropping it, I would say no, but if you're gonna
Oh,
drop.
absolutely, just dropping it.
Yeah, if you're
But
just
then we
gonna
gotta
drop-
to consent, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Right.
Can we just do it next time?
Yeah, we'll do it next time. Okay.
That's one last thing, right?
Yep. All right, with that, we are adjourned.
Thank you.